again here with a YA book review for you of Jane Unlimited by Kirstin Cashore, or Cashore. I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name, but she is the author of the Graceling Realm trilogy. And this book is relatively new. I know it came out, I think in the fall, but I'm not sure when. But it's a really cool standalone book. So let me tell you that if you're not into like string theory or the multiverse theory or parallel universes, like don't even bother reading this book because you probably won't like it. Essentially what it is it's a story that follows Janie, thus Jane Unlimited. And Janie's aunt just passed away, and her aunt made her promise to go to Tout Revient, to, you know, just to go there if she passes away. And basically Janie's really depressed after her aunt's passing. She just is working at the bookstore, college bookstore, but she's not, like, she dropped out of school and she's just not feeling anything. You know, she's kind of like a void of emotions here. So Karen ends up coming, and Karen stops in the bookstore, and because it's her alma mater, and Karen had tutored Janie in like writing or something like that. And so Karen is really, really wealthy and invites Janie to a gala at Tout Revient. Now, Tout Revient is an island that's also, the mansion is on the island and they own the whole thing. And so the story is a little bit told in flashback, and then because I think it starts with them on the boat to the island. But basically, Janie starts to realize between the servants and Karen and her brother Ravi and their father Octavian that there's just like some weird stuff going on. And what ends up happening is that the house is full of art because Ravi loves art and Octavian loves art. And how the house was constructed was, it was just like, because the Octavian, like the first, this is Octavian the third in the story, Octavian the first just like was really cheap, and so he just like took parts of the house and like salvaged them from other locations. So eventually, you know, you get kind of like the background on everybody. There's Mr. and Mrs. Vanders are servants. Karen has a boyfriend named Colin. Ravi has an on and again, off again girlfriend named Lucy. There's a couple other people who are visiting, other wealthy people who are visiting for the gala. And then there's also Ivy and Patrick, who are a brother and sister, who are servants. And Janie is kind of attracted to Ravi, and she's kind of attracted to Ivy. And that's kind of pretty ambiguous, I mean, for the most part. And essentially, you get all the background on the character. Now, I know it sounds like there's a lot of characters, and there are, but the way the story is presented, it's not difficult to keep them straight. They all are described in a really distinct manner. And this book actually really reminds me of the Westing game. I'm not sure why. I think it's just because there's like this eclectic mix of people put together, and then there's a mystery. It also reminded me of a middle grade series. I think it was like 2 or 3 books, I can't remember, called Chasing Vermeer, the artist. And it reminded me a little bit of that too. So essentially the core of the story is Jane trying to figure out why her aunt wanted her to come here, but then she kind of gets sucked into like what's going on with each of the different people. So the first section, the story is divided into 5 sections, I think, and it tells you at the beginning what the sections are. And essentially, like, Janie decides, okay, do I follow Karen here? Do I follow Ravi? Do I follow the dog Jasper? And she makes 5 different choices. I think it's 5 or something like that. It's like 4 or 5. So basically, each choice creates something different. And the story is developed based on the premise that whenever we make a choice, all the other alternatives are played out in a separate parallel universe, and that is essentially the theory of the multiverse, which I think is, like, I love that idea, and I'm really passionate about that kind of stuff. So for me, I don't know. I just feel like it's really ignorant just to think like this is it and I'm it. But so I love stuff like this. So anyway, so each section follows what would have happened if Janie had made a different decision in that moment. And then there's a little bit of overlap in each of the stories, and the author does a really good job of not, going over and over in a detail about the same thing. She'll describe it either more briefly or she'll describe it in a different way, for the most part, so you can see the overlaps. One story I didn't like, or one decision-making path I didn't like, involved Karen and Robbie's stepmother Charlotte, and it was a really dark, strange section, and the way the book ended, I feel like it didn't get resolved at all, and maybe that's because in that universe it never was resolved. The sections that I did like was I liked the Jane Unlimited section, and I liked I can't remember the name, so now I can tell you how many sections there actually are because I'm going to go and look. I liked the Spies Without Borders section, which is the first one, or rather the second one. So there's the main section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 sections total. So there's like the background section, and then there's 5 sections where Jane makes a different choice for each section. And it's just really cool. One of the sections even explains how the concept came about, kind of, which is really cool, and where the title comes from. So that was fun. The last section was even a step further into the otherworldly, so that was kind of interesting. And it doesn't end with another, there's not like a sandwich here where you have like an end section, kind of like how we had the beginning section, which is not a prologue, it's its own section. So the last decision that Janie makes in that moment is the last choice she makes is the last section of the story. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's only because I didn't like some of the sections and I like some more than others. There's a lot of details in the author notes about where Kirstin got her research, where she got her ideas from, descriptions and references about the paintings and sculptures she talks about. There's also a little bit about how originally she wanted the story to be like the 80s. I think it was the 80s. I don't know if it existed before that. Maybe it did. The Choose Your Adventure stories, which were written in the second person. And then eventually, I guess this story took her about 4 years to put together, or maybe 4 years to come to fruition. And she decided to do the third person and to, stick in a linear format. And I think that's even interesting. And I kind of like that better because for me, I never really liked, I would take them from the school library sometimes, but I never really liked the Choose Your Own Adventure books because they felt so, I'm kind of OCD and I have to look at, every single possibility. So it was a little bit of a tedious read as opposed to an enjoyable read. This, however, is not a tedious read. There is a particular section, the Jane Unlimited section, has a lot of science-y stuff in it. If you're a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson or Stephen Hawking or Carl Sagan, I am fans of those gentlemen and scientists, so I really enjoyed that section. So I don't know, it's just a really unique read, and it's a standalone, and I love a good standalone. So if you're looking for something maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone, something that's has magical realism and a little bit of science fiction, kind of what I'm really sticking with the Westing game vibe here. There's several mysteries within the story, and it's just super unique. So I don't know if you can see it because the cover is super silvery purple and reflective. But underneath, let me show you before I sign off. Underneath it's got an umbrella because Janie makes umbrellas. Artistic umbrellas, and she constructs them and designs them and stuff. So that was kind of a cute little surprise underneath the cover. So this is Jane Unlimited. In the meanwhile, happy reading and happy writing.